Right, so in terms of sketching graphs, our next place we're going to is we're going to look at completing the square, because this can be quite a nice way to sketch quadratics that are quite difficult. So if you've got a quadratic that doesn't cut the x-axis, using our information from completing the square form helps us sketch it. And this is just kind of revision from National 5. Completing the square does get a little bit more complicated, so far the completing the square we saw generally went into the form x plus q squared plus r. That's what we've seen from National 5, but now we can have the possibility that we would have a constant out the front, so we can now get slightly more complicated completing the square, but the methodology is pretty much the same, nothing's really changed. So, to go through it as an example, we've got x squared plus 6x plus 2. And we're putting this into completed the square form. We don't want to factorize it normally. What we want to do, and the way we think about it, is it's like we've got x squared plus 6x, and then we've got this plus 2 on the end. And what we're doing with our x squared plus 6x is we're kind of trying to put it into a bracket that's got our x and a squared. And to figure out what goes there, we kind of have to, this middle term, when we have a squared bracket, so if I have x plus 1 squared, I get x plus 1, x plus 1. And then I multiply it out, I get x squared plus x plus another x plus 1. So I would get x squared plus 2x plus 1 for this example. So what's happened with our middle term is it's 2 times the first term and the last term, so like the x times the 1. So it's 2 lots of that. And then this 1 here is just the last one squared. So we square the first term, so x squared gives us our x squared. Our 1, when we square that, we get our 1. And then in the middle, if we times those two, our first two, these two terms here that we've got in our square brackets together, and double it, we get what goes in the middle. So that's like a nice simple way to kind of expand out those brackets quite quickly. And that's what we're using here. So we know that to get that x squared plus 6x, we need a bracket where we've got x plus 3 squared. Because if we times those two together and double it, that'll give us our 6x that we need. But it would also give us a 9 that we don't want, which we need to then take away. And then we've still got our plus 2. And we know that works, because if we've got x plus 3 squared, we know that's going to give us x squared plus 6x plus 9. And then we've got this extra 9 here that we want to take away to give us what we have above, to make them equal. So then that gives us that we've got x plus 3 squared minus 9 plus 2, so you get minus 7. Okay, right, so having a go at a slightly more difficult one, if I've got 4x squared plus 8x plus 3, what I can do is take out a common factor. So you can see that is the same as 4x squared plus 2x. And then the plus 3 again just stays on the out. So we've taken the common factor out the first two terms, but not out of the third term. So then we've got 4 times, and then in here it would be x plus 1, because we half that term to square it, and then we've got to take away the last term squared, 1 squared, or take away 1, and then we've got to add on that 3. So when we multiply our brackets, we get 4x plus 1 squared, 4 times minus 1 minus 4 plus 3, so you get 4x plus 1 squared, or all squared, minus 1. And this is how we can do this for all of those. The other option we can get, that we didn't really see at National 5, is if we've got a negative. So you can have 7 plus 8x minus 2x squared. We can rearrange. So we get minus 2x squared plus 8x plus 7. And then it just follows the same thing. We can take out our common factor of minus 2. And then you're going to have x squared minus 4x plus 7. And then again, you half that term, so you get x minus 2 squared. And then you've got to take away 4, because that's 2 squared that you're going to have if you multiplied out those brackets. Plus 7. Again, then multiply it by the minus 2, you get minus 2 times x minus 2 squared. And then you get minus 2 times 4, which is plus 8, plus 7. So you get minus 2 x minus 2 squared plus 15. Okay, so that's just a wee reminder of completing the square and then moving on to slightly more complex versions that we'll be seeing in higher.